Hey, David, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for having me. I'm currently a regional vice president for a system integrator called E+, based out of Herndon, Virginia, with offices all over the world. I run the Mid-Atlantic area for them, about 15 sales reps work on my team, and about 10 pre-sales engineers and a bunch of delivery people. And we're a big system integrator who tries to help customers solve some of their business initiatives through technology, and we do that through product and services and managed services, and it's been fun. I love selling technology and helping customers, so it's been a fun ride.
Pretty easy sale.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Just like everything else out there. I always say, nothing happens till somebody sells something, right? So that's always been my philosophy in life, no matter what it is. So I think if you're going to do something in life, and I tell my kids this all the time, sales is the best job on earth, right? You get to control your schedule. You get to watch all your kids' sports games if you're doing the job the right way. And yeah, with the cell phone now these days, unfortunately, you're 24/7. So
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So it's nothing's easy though. I'll tell you that for sure. Some days are great, other days aren't.
Yeah. And what got you into sales?
Gosh, it's funny. I grew up in South Florida. And I used to have a neighbor next door that had a candy truck, actually. And he used to ride around and sell candy to, local shops. And I always used to go in his truck and buy candy. And I said, hey, can I buy a box of this? I want to take it to school and see if I can mark these up and sell them, like candy bars and now laters and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, sure. So I used to take the candy to school. And this was like probably in 6th or 7th grade. And I got such a high from selling the candy and coming home and making some money. Is just since then, I always wanted to know. I knew I wanted to be a sales rep.
Yeah.
And after college, I took a job at a local computer store selling 386s and 486s back in the day and Mac 2Es, and then just stayed in technology sales. It's been 27 years later. It's been a fun run.
Cool. And
Yeah.
was it the money? And what did money mean to you back then? Was it independence? Was it
Oh yeah,
control?
it was not having to go through my mom's purse and dad's wallet and
Yeah.
steal $1 here or two to go buy baseball cards or whatever it was I wanted. And just having your own independence and your own money, that was really exciting to me. And right from there, I got into the baseball card business. I sold baseball cards. I actually sold up my collection right before I went to college and bought a car, actually. And so I was hooked. I thought sales just gave you freedom, and I loved it. And I'm really excited to have taken that path because it's worked out well for me.
And that's it. And a lot of parents don't get that
Mm.
because, the money gives you the independence. Like for me, it was buy a bicycle so I could have a paper route.
Yes.
Then I save
I,
up, buy a car so I could go get a job.
I loved it. And now I have two daughters in college, and they're both at Indiana School of Business. And the younger one is sort of like me. She's a sales personality, I think, type person. And now they have, as part of the curriculum, is a sales major. So I see a lot of colleges starting to go that path, and it really excites me because she'll be really good at it. So I'm really pumped about that.
Yeah, it's crazy why colleges never did, because
Yeah.
there's certainly more salespeople than marketing people.
I, I hate to say this, but I told them I'm not paying all this money for you to get a marketing degree. Or it's listen. I love marketing. It's huge, but it's my older daughter's finance, accounting, and I love that track. And there's just so many sales. Like I said, nothing happens till somebody sells something. No matter if you're a lawyer, a doctor, whatever, you're always selling something.
Right.
Nothing happens. So it's
It's
just
crazy. You
get
can
good
get
at
a PhD in marketing, and sales is a 2-day training class.
yes. So funny. Yeah, it's
and,
true.
and sales, I got to believe, is more intellectually challenging because you're dealing with people.
Oh yeah, that's what I say. This job would be terrific if there was no people involved, right? Sometimes.
Right? It'd be a lot simpler.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the psychology of it is what I love about it,
Yeah.
because every day is different and every person you deal with presents a different challenge. And I love that aspect about it for sure.
And why'd you decide to get into leadership?
You know, I ponder that question all the time because I think I made a lot more
You
money
made a mistake.
as a sales rep. I made the transition. I guess it's been about 8 years ago. I was presented an opportunity at a company before this one. I started off as a salesperson, and the CEO said, "David, we need to build out the practice here, and you're the guy to do it." And so that kind of lifted me into the leadership aspect of it. And looking back and pondering back after 8 years, I've enjoyed mentoring and making people better, and teaching them a lot of the things that I learned along the way. So it's been really fruitful in that way. So believe me, Brian, sometimes I think I lay in bed and go, God, I don't want to do that spreadsheet tomorrow. I don't want to manage that sales call. I don't want to deal with this drama anymore. But in the end, it's really rewarding. And at this point in my career, I do enjoy it.
Yeah, because it is a completely different job.
Yeah, and I've told myself, listen, I don't ever want to get away from being in front of the customer, because that is really my favorite part of this job. I can't sit behind a desk and do my spreadsheets and do my forecasting. So I really try to limit that to Monday and Fridays.
Yep.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm on the road with the reps. And, I've built a lot of relationships, over the years in my patch. So I'm able to help a lot of my reps get in and really take advantage of the relationships that I've had over the years. And, I'm fortunate enough to have built some great relationships. So if I bring somebody in, they're going to trust they're going to do a good job for them. If they don't, they call me right away and say, get this guy off, or get this guy off my account. I need somebody new. So that's kind of how it's going.
And what motivated you to start writing?
Yeah, it's I'm not a good writer. I was,
I know how you feel.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I always look at some of my emails that I write and go, God, I left a couple words out, because my brain is always thinking.
Right, you skip over words. It's dyslexic. Yeah.
All the time, and I'm going, oh, that's embarrassing that I actually wrote that email. So I apologize a lot for that. So, I had gotten into this blog about trying to tell salespeople that what CIOs and technology leadership didn't really like about them, unfortunately. And, I had started this blog, and I had been doing it for about 8 years. And somebody, came up with a noble idea that this blog is great. I'd love to see this turned into a book or an audio book. And, I talked with the guy who really started the concept with me, who was a friend from college, who's a CIO at a big payer in Delaware. And he said, I got plenty of stories for you. So we kind of that's how everything started. And then I kind of commissioned about 7 or 8 of my other friends who are technology leadership type folks, CIOs, CTOs, and they had plenty of content. Boy, they love talking about what they don't appreciate about salespeople. So the content just came flowing, and I said, this is going to be helpful for people. Let's hear it. There's a lot of books out there, a lot of, and I've read a lot of them. Believe me, I try to, when I have time, I try to, peel back some reading. But this was kind of from the aspect of that you hear from the people that you call on. You don't really see that as often. So so far so good. It's gotten some good feedback, and I enjoy talking about it.
Because I got to believe the CIO is probably the most pounded on persona.
Oh. Yes, they are. Yeah, and they don't have time, right? The problem with CIOs these days is that they are, if the good ones are really involved with on the leadership board, they're working right for the CEO if they have it that way, and they're really making strategic decisions. They don't care about what technology the company's using, right? They're leaving that to their infrastructure folks, their app dev folks. These people are trying to, bring money to the bottom line, right? And that's why the tenures sometimes for CIOs, I think the average used to be 18 months. I think it's gone up a little bit since then, but it's a hard job. And they get pounded on like you've never seen. But in the end, they put their pants on just like we do, and they need to talk to people that can help them. So if you're strategic about it and do it the right way, you can add some value, right? And have a meaningful conversation with these folks.
Well, let's talk about some of the mistakes reps are making. What did you hear from them as far as what they didn't like?
Yeah, I mean, some of these tactics that sales reps use are amazing, and it's a lot of the younger ones, right, that are coming into it that just that are still a little bit green, right, and they're getting leaned on by their sales management. They're
pressure.
Get the meeting, get the pressure, make the numbers, right? So they're desperate, right, to just, sometimes they're making up stuff. So if you talk to some of the folks that I've talked to, some of them are like, I'll get the LinkedIn, and then 2 seconds later I'll get a phone call. Then I'll get the Facebook request, and then they'll tell me that their sales leadership is in town and they have here's the 4 times they can meet. And I just got 3 of them today because my buddy always sends me the emails that he gets from the sales reps that call on him, and he's just like, he makes a log of them. Like, this is just ridiculous. Does this person really think that I'm going to call them back? I mean, learn about my business, right? Get involved in a charity that I might be involved in, right? There's so much social media out there and social stuff that you can get information about the customers and people that you're calling on. So try to connect on a different level than trying to sell them something, right? That's the key, right? Just if they're involved in a charity, and you can see a lot of that stuff through social media, get involved, right? It may take 6 months or a year to get to that person, but eventually you're going to find a way, in a meaningful way, to make a connection, and then go try to sell them something, right? So I think I wrote a blog in the book. If your sales manager is really pounding on you to go get that PO and you need it by 5 p.m. because the quarter's about to close, tell them to go do it, right? Because you know what? You're not going to be at that company forever, and you're going to need to sell to this person and have the relationship with them in your next job. So you tell your manager to call them and piss them off, right? So that's what I always say, and I really try to be that way with my reps. Don't hound these people. Stop calling them all the time. Listen, they got other things to do, right? They know you want that PO, right? And I think
it's no mystery.
I think I saw one of your last little walks around town, and that's one of the things you're addressing. It's so true. It's just, you go do it. You go burn that bridge. You go piss them off, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how so I'm sympathetic. So I credit myself, hopefully, to being a understanding manager, because I've been on their side of the fence before.
And I think, today salespeople are acting like sheep. They're all doing, a playbook from people who are in the tornado, right? And when you're in the tornado, I don't know if you've ever been, you were at some very hot companies at very good times.
Yes, I was fortunate. Yes.
Yeah. I never was, so I don't know, but I heard, and when you're in there, those type of tactics can work. You got brand recognition, there's demand, they're in market, you're the leader. But if you're unknown, you don't begin at pounding.
It's so true. When I was like you said, when I was at Sun or Oracle or some of the companies, like the big technology leaders, Microsoft, the Ciscos of the world, you're going to get the attention. And if you call them, you're going to get a call back most of the times, right? But after that run, I did go to some smaller integrators who had no clue who I was or what my company did. I was fortunate enough that I had the relationships from selling to them in the past, that I became that trusted advisor. So they said, David, we want to help you. We want to make you become successful. And a lot of times I knew I was selling something to these folks that wasn't going to help them. So you know what? I had to just stay away from them for years because I had no value. Yeah. I knew just keeping these relationships, and I'm going to come to you when I have something that I think can help you solve some business outcomes and be meaningful to you and help you in your career and at your job become better, and hopefully get you promoted because you made a great technology decision. Right. But yeah, it sure is fun. It was sure fun in those early, the 2000s before Y2K, when you had the hot product, and the fax machine in those days was just shooting off orders. But it's a different ball game now. There's so much competition. You have so many companies that do the same exact thing that you do, especially in the security world, which we're big in. And there's so many companies coming at you. So to weed out all that noise and make sure that you're taking to your customers meaningful things, that's what really matters to these folks, these CIOs. They're smart. They know. They get pounded. They use Forrester and Gartner. They know all this stuff. Just come to them with some things that make sense, and don't stop selling them things. Just make it happen, and be patient, right? And that's why I say don't go somewhere where you're just gonna. It's all about the sale, because that's not going to last very long, and they're going to be job hopping all the time, and that's not good for anybody. So,
and it's good to hear that, because I remember that time. And I'd be interviewed by a lot of people who came out of the Sun, Oracle, Sybases of the world. And sometimes it was them.
Yeah.
That the rep made it happen.
Yep.
And you have a great rep and a great brand and a great product and a great market. That's a lot of synergy going on.
Yeah. Yeah. These
So
days, I was going to say, Brian, I really give, nothing's going to, where I am now, it takes a year, right? So our company's pretty good about it. All right, you know what? This job is hard. System integrator job is hard. There's a lot of competition. You're selling a lot of different products. There's companies use other integrators, and until they mess up or do something wrong, or they give you a foot in the door, it's going to be a journey. So we try to be very patient. We know if somebody's doing the right activity and helping build their pipeline and doing all the right things, and if they are, we're going to be very patient with them, because sometimes I think I've held on to a rep. Just I have one rep that's been with me almost 20 months, barely sold a thing, but I know they have the right attitude,
approach.
the right drive, the right grit, and they're going to make it. So, and you just slowly see their pipeline building, and they just need that one first win, and then they're going to be on their way. So, somebody gave me some advice one time. It doesn't matter how great the job is. If you have a bad manager, your job's going to suck, right? So pick your
Number
manager.
one thing.
If you're in an
Number one
opportunity
thing.
to pick your manager, do it. Spend the
Yeah.
time to take the time to work for the person that you think is going to be able to help you most, and be that mentor for you. So when I'm interviewing people, I try to, I lead with that, because there's just a lot of companies out there are just all about, just driving
Numbers.
numbers, and it's a grind, and you got to find a place that's going to be a little bit patient, because this is not an easy job, as you know.
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure that out, because I had the luxury of one of my first sales jobs had the best manager I ever had.
Yeah.
We would be at the office 9:00 at night. We'd go out to dinner, talk it through. And I learned so much from him. And then
Yeah.
you go from that to somebody who just sees you as a tool, a resource. You
Yeah.
either make your number or you get put on a plan or something. And you're like, that's not helping me.
Yeah, it's true. Listen, I'm the same way. I'm not different. The old situation where I'm getting 80% of my revenue from the top 20% of my reps, right? The old Price is Law situation, right? So but I know that, all right, I have some top performers and they've been around a while and they get it. I'm going to get constant production from those guys, but I need those other reps. I really do, to make my number and be successful.
You still need that 20%.
I still need it. I still, because it's, if you don't have it, then that's the difference between me making my number and me not making my number. Right.
Yeah.
So, listen, it's a grind. I try to be as patient as humanly possible, and I'm getting pressures from my management as well. But I'm fortunate enough to have found a company who understands that it's a grind and it's about the people. And if you're doing all the right things, they're going to stick around, and you'll have some success if you're treating your people well and you're understanding. You got to weed out the people right away. You try to hire fast and fire fast. Don't get me wrong. I think in this industry, you kind of know within the first 3 months if you've made a mistake, and just be fair to that person, and let them know, listen, this isn't for you. I'll be a reference for you, but I suggest you want to find something else, and sales may not be for you. Right? It's not for everybody.
It's
right?
not for everybody.
Not
And
for everybody.
when you're interviewing, what do you look for?
I really look for that grit. I used to try to, in that tenacity, in that business, that
Acumen.
social and business acumen, right? It used to be try to find somebody within the industry that has the contacts,
The knowledge and the relationship. Yeah.
bring it to you right away. Those work out sometimes, Brian, but in the most, I don't mind hiring from out of industry, as long as they get it and they get the human aspect of it. You know how it goes. People are going to buy from people they like and they understand, and who are sympathetic and get it. So I've seen a lot of successful people who came out from out industry, whether it be medical device sales or uniform sales. Sales is sales, right? You can learn a little bit of the technology. I'm not a technologist. I'm an inch deep and a mile wide on a lot of things, right? But I have the smart people around me. So make sure you go to a company that has the resources, that when you do have a big meeting, that you can bring somebody with you who knows what they're talking about for that second and third meeting, so you can show that value, right? Because sometimes it's like a Head and Shoulders commercial. You get one chance to make a first impression, right? So if you need to bring in the right people right away, you better do it. So go somewhere where you have the resources around you.
And how do you determine that in an interview? You're looking for what? Past performance, examples of tenacity and grit?
Listen, you can ask a lot of those basic sales questions. Tell me about your three hardest, your three hardest sales, or how come you just tell me about a couple of things that you lost. Take me through your history. Where have you seen success? Um, you know, I hate to say it, you like to find competitiveness, right?
Yeah.
That the people that have potentially played sports and don't like to lose. So, you know, I like people that want to make money, right? And that's important to them, right? So I'm usually using my gut a lot of the time, right? I'm certainly going to call some people and get some advice, but listen, you know how it is. You're not going to get any references that they won't say nice things about the person. So you try to go to that second or third reference to get some information. But I'm really going with my gut a lot, and I'm not always right. It's hard, right, to be a great judge of people, but just that competitive nature and that sincerity about them, and don't BS me, right? Just let's tell it how it is, and that will translate into good things to come for you. So I really go with my gut a lot to really the business and social acumen of things,
Yeah.
and really, those people make it and don't let me down.
And when you've made a hiring mistake, what do you think caused it?
I think a lot of people think the job is easier than it really is, right? And you really got to be a regimented person, right? You got to get up, get dressed, make your bed every day, right? And have a routine, bang the phones, especially in this time that we're in right now when everybody's working from home, right? We're big on like, what are you doing, right? What you better be cleaning up your CRM. You better be working with the OEMs that we resell, building those relationships, just reaching out to your customers, not to sell them something, just to care. Um, just how you doing, right? And how can I help your employees that are in the front lines, right? So we're doing a lot of things with hospitals, right? Try to send meals to some of the nurses and the doctors. And I also tell the reps, listen, you have customers that are working as well, even if they're not in the healthcare field or the trucking companies, where find out those employees that are working and send them a breakfast, send them a lunch. Don't ask how your network's doing, or if you need any, more Zoom or WebEx licenses. Just do something that shows that you care to them as a human being, and they're going to remember that when this all ends. And it's going to end, and it's going to end, and they're going to need something at that point, and they're going to remember that act of kindness that you did, and they're going to reach out to you. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, no, that's
I
good.
always go on tangents, right? But
Yeah.
this is a tough time we're in right now, especially for salespeople who are used to being out there doing dinners, buying lunches. That's what I'm good at, right? A lot of the sales reps are good at putting out their credit cards and, letting the smart people do the selling for them. But this is a unique time where you got to find different ways to sell and different ways to touch people and different ways to communicate. So, our marketing department is getting pretty creative and doing cooking classes and doing things for the kids and just everything, but just not trying to sell the customer something, because it's the last thing they want. They're losing their jobs. They're stressed. They're trying to keep the network up. They're like, don't try to sell me something or send me another WebEx, because I don't have time for that right now. Right?
Right. Yeah. Another webinar.
Oh my goodness, man. I had one customer, he literally got invitations to 17 webinars yesterday. He's like, really? I'm trying to keep my employees employed and figure out, how we're going to keep the lights on. And I don't have time for that right now. So just be creative and be kind.
Yeah.
That's what it is right now.
And what do you wish you learned a lot earlier in your career?
Man, that's a great question. Wow. You know, I got caught up in that rut too, like working for some folks that just didn't care about anything else except, getting the sale, right? And doing anything it took, whether it be the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, whether it's unethical or ethical. And so I wish I would have learned that a little along the way, because I think some of those relationships, I might have burnt some bridges back in the day. that I'd still have those if I went about it the right way. So listen, this is a competitive game. I love to win. I used to do whatever it took to get the deal, and I took everything really personally as a salesperson. I used to get very uh, animated and anxious and upset. And as I've aged a little bit, I'm like, you know what? Maybe they weren't the right customer for you, right? So I've learned along the way that sometimes it's best to, when you have the ability to choose your customer, that may make some sense. And don't waste your time chasing those ones where it's probably not going to be cool in the end. So, and I tell folks that I work with now, you know what? You're going to chase that $100,000 sale, and it's going to take you so much time and so much effort, so let that one go and focus on the stuff that's going to be more meaningful and going to be seven, 8 figures in the long run. So, pick your time wisely. There's only so much time in a day. Go after the ones that are going to make more sense in the long run. So that's probably one of the better lessons I've learned, Brian, in this 27-year run, at this point.
I think so too, because what I learned was a lot of that using judgment and prioritization. What are the deals that can and will close, and what order will they close? Work on them instead of looking at everything as equal.
Yeah.
This is not equal.
It's so true. And I look at the pipeline and I go through it on a, daily basis. And I'm like, I'll call my rep sometime and say, Rob, this isn't worth it. This customer we probably should fire this customer. They cause you nothing but grief. You're not going to make them happy. They're always asking you for free stuff.
Right.
Go focus your energy on the customer that may take a little while to crack the door, but in the end, it's going to be a lot more fruitful and make you, put a lot more money in your pocket. So, choose wisely. I know these reps want to make it happen and they want to fill the pipeline, but fill it with meaningful stuff that make it work on. So
cool. And what do you hope the reader gets out of the book?
Listen, it's great. If I sell a lot of copies, I'll be ecstatic. I did it for my girls to see that when you start something, you can finish it. This is a great book to, I hate to say, but you can open up to any page in the book and get something out of it. You don't have to read it in a particular order. It's a bunch of stories from CIOs that I think if you spent the time, you could read this book in 2 hours, honestly, if you just sat down and read it from front to end. Just understand that these technology leadership folks are people, and if you take the time to understand that their business and what matters to them, that you're going to be a lot more successful as a sales rep. And in the end, if I had to summarize this book, and it's sales 101, it's all about the relationship, right? Figure out a way to get to them, not just by selling them something, by another means that's going to be meaningful to them as a person, and build that trust and build that relationship. And then when the time is right and something that makes sense based on what their business objectives are, they'll talk to you, and the time will be right, and you'll appreciate it in the end that you took the time and did the homework, and they'll have a conversation with you. They're all nice people. They all need people like us to help them be successful in their careers, because we're enabling them with technology that they probably don't know about, that they should know about.
Yeah.
So just be patient and do your homework and build a relationship, whether it's through a charity, through another means besides sending them an email and telling them that
ask it for 15 minutes.
Telling them that you and your manager are going to be in town and can we have 15 minutes of your time. And the other thing is build a relationship with their admin. I think that's one of the first chapters. I spent a lot of time. I knew that the admins were the key to the calendar, right? So I spent a lot of time buttering up those admins and making sure I brought them cookies. I took them out to lunch, and I cared about them because they're the keepers of that calendar. And if you do good by them, they'll take care of you in the end, right? Yeah. So
not many people are nice to them.
Yeah, be nice to those. Be nice to everybody. It's not hard to do. It's a lot easier to be nice than to be a jerk off, right? So
yeah. Well, what's the title of the book and what formats is it available in?
Yeah, the book is called "No, I Don't Have 15 Minutes to Chat." Right. what top execs wish salespeople knew about getting into the door and earning the business. And it just released on Amazon last week, and it's paperback, and it's on Kindle, and I'm in the process of finding the right voice to record the audiobook, which should be out in a couple weeks. So I know a lot of sales folks, audio is the way to go these days. So I'm working on that. But yeah, it's pretty simple, and like I said, you can open up any page and fall asleep at night to it, and get a little tidbit out of it.
Cool. And where can people go to connect with you?
I'm at, the blog is sellingtothecio.com. And it's got the blogs there, and the access to me and the book, and to the partner who helped me wrote it, who absolutely, he's a big time CIO in the tri-state area, always willing to give salespeople advice and to talk to them about the right way to get to him and the right things to do. So yeah, that's the easiest way, just sellingtothecio.com.